Praise the Mighty YAH. Good morning. Good morning. Shalom. Shalom. This is Minister Mike Hill, and welcome to Ummi's Tree Bible Study. Today we're going to, y'all willing, go over Genesis 5. But there were some other questions that was asked of me yesterday during Sabbath services that that I may get into today. One is we're going to deal with the resurrection. I'm going to probably discuss that for a moment. And then there was one more question I had got yesterday that I think that I'm trying to think. So as I go through the lesson, maybe it'll come to me. All right. Well, before we get started, let's open up with Psalms reading. And let's open up with the book of Psalms. Let's open up with Psalm 7. Let's open up with Psalms 92. All right. Or let me see. Let's open up with Psalm 93. I'm sorry. All right. Psalms 93. It states, Yahweh reigneth. He is clothed with majesty. Yahweh reigneth. He is clothed with majesty. Yahweh is clothed with strength wherewith he hath girded himself. The world also established that it cannot be moved. Thy throne is established of old, thou art from everlasting. The floods have lifted up, O Yahweh, the floods have lifted up their voice. The floods lift up their waves. Yahweh on high is mightier than the noise of many waters, yea, than the mighty waves of the sea. Thy testimonies are very sure. Holiness becometh thine house, O Yahweh, forever. Amen. All right. Excuse me. Now we are live, so if you have any questions, go ahead and just type them in. But we're going to go ahead and just dive straight into the book of Genesis, chapter 5. Now, as I've stated in other videos, if you have questions outside of what the Bible study lesson is about, if you have questions about any of the scriptures, even if you have questions about the Quran or the New Testament, you can ask them. And I'm basically going to base our time. We normally start at 10 o'clock, but y'all willing, I'm going to basically base our time off of if I have any questions or any comments. Okay, so the times that our broadcast may fluctuate, because once I've completed a particular lesson, if there are no questions or if there are no comments, then most likely I'll just move on with something else. All right. Okay. Now we're in the book of Genesis. I'm going to start reading at verse 1. Now, in Genesis chapter 4 is when Cain murdered Abel. All right. And it also mentions that during that time when Cain murdered Abel, that the Almighty gave cursed Cain because of what he did. And he put a mark upon Cain so that if anyone took his life, that they would be punished 7 times over. So now we're going to move into chapter 5 of Genesis. Starting at the very first verse, it says, "This is the book of the generations of Adam in the day that Elohim created man." And this is about Adam and Eve. I think I said Noah, so I apologize if I said Noah. But this is in chapter 4, it's about Adam. Adam and Eve have been thrown out of the Garden of Eden in chapter 3 of Genesis, and they were a curse was put upon them, and Adam and Eve, who are considered the father and the mother, or the Abba and the Ima of man, were kicked out of the garden, and they began their family, starting with Cain and Abel. Cain murdered Abel and was cursed, and a mark was put upon him so that if any man touched him to take his life, they would get it sevenfold. So now, I just wanted to make that correction because I felt like I said Noah instead of Adam. So I apologize for that. So in the book of Genesis, chapter 5, says, this is the book of Genesis. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that Elohim created man, in the likeness of Elohim made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam in the day that they were created. Now, Adam is man. That's what Adam means, is man. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to make a few notes here. Let's see here. All right. And basically, what I've come across was that Adam is, in Hebrew, means earth. And because Adam was created, all man was created from earth. We have the same minerals. We have the same minerals that the earth is made of. So man comes from earth, and then when we die, we return back to the earth. Now, here, the Almighty is reiterating. He said, male and female, and this is in Genesis 5:2. It says, male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. All right. Verse 3 reads, and Adam lived 130 years, and begat a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth. So after Cain and Abel came Seth. And the days of Adam after he had begot Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. So even after 800 years after him being 800 years, he still begat. He had begat sons and daughters. And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. Now, during that time, yes, men lived to be almost 1,000 years old. They didn't get quite to 1,000, but they darn near sure lived to be that way. And then you have to think about things. You have to think about it. They didn't have a lot of the pollutants that we have, and a lot of the foods that they ate from the ground. So, and they were more active than we are now. See, they didn't have cell phones, and they didn't have computers. So yeah, it was possible to live a very long and prosperous life. So now let's go into, after Adam died, now we're going to go into Seth. Verse 6, it says, and Seth lived 105 years, and begat Enos. And Seth lived, after he begat Enos, 807 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Seth were 925 years, and he died. And Enos lived 90 years, and begat Canaan. And Enos lived, after he begat Canaan, 815 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Enos were 905 years, and he died. And Canaan lived 70 years, and begat Mahaliel. And Canaan lived, after he begat Mahaliel, 840 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Canaan were 910 years, and he died. And Mahaliel lived 65 years and begot Yared. And Mahaliel lived after he begot Yared 830 years and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Mahaliel were 895 years, and he died. And Yared lived 106. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Let's make sure. Yared lived 162 years, and he begat Enoch. And Yared lived after he begot Enoch 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Yared were 962 years, and he died. And Enoch lived 65 years and begat Methuselah. And Enoch walked with Elohim after he begat Methuselah 300 years and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And Enoch walked with Elohim, and he was not, for Elohim took him. Now, with Enoch, there's a difference. The difference with Enoch is that the Almighty took Enoch. Enoch didn't die. The Almighty just took him. The Almighty felt that Enoch walked with him and was so perfect and was so righteous, and he just took him. He didn't die. You didn't read that. You won't read where Enoch died. And what happened was the Almighty took Enoch to dwell with him. That's how righteous Enoch was, or is. Because the question lies, is Enoch still alive? Because the Almighty took him. Because Enoch never died. And then you don't read that. In verse 25, it reads, and Methuselah lived 187 years and begat Lamech. And Methuselah lived after he begat Lamech 782 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. And Lamech lived 182 years and begat sons and daughters. And he called his name Noah, saying, this name shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which Yahweh hath cursed. And Lamech lived after he begat Noah 595 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. And Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begot Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All right, so now that's the generation of Adam. So Noah's great-grandfather is Adam, and Noah's father is Lamech, and then we'll be getting into the story of Noah, Yah willing, next week. All right. Now, there was a question asked yesterday about the resurrection. And what that question was dealing with the 3 days and the 3 nights in the belly of the beast, and the belly of the whale. Now, let's do this. Let me go here. Let's see. Let me answer these questions. Let's see here. Okay, let's see here. Okay, let me see. All right. So let's go to, I have to get that later. Let's go to the book of Mark. All right, let's go to the book of Mark. No, book of Matthew. I'm sorry. Let's go to the book of Matthew, which is the first book of the New Testament. Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 12. All right. All right. In the book of Matthew, chapter 12, I'm going to start reading at verse 40. I'm going to read verse 40. It says, "For as Jonas," talking about Jonah, "was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth." Now, that's just one place that I want to read. Now, this festive day, which is today, that most people are celebrating, is Resurrection Day. They call it Resurrection Day. And this is the day that they say that he resurrected from the dead. All right, talking about the Christ in the New Testament. Now, let's do a little math here. Let's think about something. On the, I want to say, let me look at my calendar here. Let's see something here. Let me look at my calendar real quick. Let's see. I apologize. Let's see. Okay. Now, let's look at some things here. Now, in the book of Matthew, we just read where it says that the Christ of the New Testament will be in the belly of the earth 3 days and 3 nights. It says Jonah was in the belly of the whale. Now, let's do some really quick calculations. I really don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but let's do some really quick calculations. What they call Good Friday. Good Friday is the day that he was created, right? He was created. Or not created, but crucified, excuse me. Good Friday is the day that he was crucified, right? Okay. So they say he was crucified on the 6th day. All right. Now, in the book as well, during that time, he was, of course, they considered the Christ of the New Testament as being Hebrew. So what they ended up doing was that when the Christ of the New Testament was crucified, he hung. In the book of Acts talks about he hung from a tree. Then it says he was hung. He was on a crucifix. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I guess I don't know. But when he was crucified, and gave up the ghost, and he yelled out basically, "Why hast thou forsaken me?" Speaking to God. Many believe that Christ is God, but when he was being crucified, he called out to God, to the Almighty, and said, "Why hast thou forsaken me?" Now, there are many scriptures where the Almighty will let you know that he never forsakes the righteous. But for some reason, the Christ of the New Testament felt forsaken from God, which then shows a difference between the Almighty and Christ. Christ wasn't called out to himself saying, why has he forsaken himself? There was a higher power that even Christ was answering to. But anyway, they took him down from the crucifix before the evening of the 6th day. And they prepared him because they wanted to do it before the Sabbath, which was on the 7th day of the week, which is on Saturday. It's not, well, let's just say that when man gave the names to the days of the week, we came up with what we have today as, the days that's mentioned during the course of the week. So on the 7th, so before the 7th day, which was the Sabbath, they took him down, they wrapped him, and the Christ of the New Testament, you won't read where he was buried in the ground. A sepulcher was hewn out for him, like a rock, like a little cave area, a little memorial space was hewn out for him. So he was above ground. His body was so-called placed above ground. So he wasn't even buried. His body was placed above ground, and the doors were closed, or the boulder was placed in front of the rock, or wherever the tomb or whatever. He was also, so what ended up happening was Mary and some others had went to that same tomb, and the rock was pushed back. And one of the gentlemen that was with them said there were different depictions, because the apostles are given different depictions. So one apostle said that he had saw him, that he had saw two angels, and another one said he saw one. But nonetheless, he saw these angelic figures, and they were carrying out the Christ of the New Testament. Now, no. What happened was he had came to the cave, and the Christ of the New Testament, because they came after the Sabbath. So they came on what we would consider Sunday, but it's considered the first day of the week. So he came to the cave to see, and Christ was already gone. Right at the crack of dawn, he came, and Christ was already gone. And all he saw in there were these angelic figures. So let's do some counting real quick. First, let's discuss what a day is. A day starts from the first light till the evening. And then the evening is a transitional period where the day is ending, where it's going to be the night. So let's say that, let's do a count. So they say he was going to be in the belly of the earth 3 days and 3 nights. I really don't have to go any further, because he wasn't buried in the earth. He was placed inside of a tomb. But I'll do the count. And if there are any questions or comments, please feel free to ask them. All right, so they placed him. They took him down in the evening. So you really can't count that day, because when they took him down, the day was ending. So you can't really count that day. So you would have to count that. You really can't count that day, because he wasn't crucified for a whole day. So you can't count that day, because he was crucified sort of in the middle of the day, or when the day had already began. So you can't really count that as the first day. Okay. So now let's say he was crucified, right? So he was dead. So they took him down in the evening. So they placed him in the tomb, not in the belly of the earth, but in the tomb. So you go 6-day evening, then you go 7th day that morning, 7th day evening, and then when the man who actually, he was a rich man, paid for that tomb to be hewn, when he got there, Christ was already gone. So what do you get? You don't get 3 days and you don't get 3 nights. If anything, you get 2 evenings and 1 day. That's what you get. You get 2 evenings and 1 day. Folks, we have been bamboozled. We have been lied to. Christ did not die, or Christ was not in the belly of the earth, I should say, for 3 days and 3 nights. You don't get 3 days and 3 nights from that whole crucifixion story. You only get, at best, 2 evenings. You get 2 evenings, 1 day, and 1 night. Or you get, no, I take that back. I apologize. You get the evening of the 6th and the night of the 6th. So that's 2. But, so that's 1 evening. So that's evening, evening. So at best, you're going to get 2 evenings, a day, and a night, which does not equate to 3 days and 3 nights. So he was not in the belly of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. He was not. He was only in the belly of he wasn't even in the belly of the earth, but he was only in the tomb for 1 day and maybe 2 nights. But you don't get 3 days and you don't get 3 nights out of that story. So, since there are no questions or anything like that, or no comments, I thank you for watching. And I also want to say this. I've been a minister for a very long time. And ministering for Yahweh, it's an honor. And one of the reasons why I do Ummi's Tree is because it's important to understand our culture. It is important to understand our upbringing. So, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your time. And I'm going to read Psalms to end the broadcast with, by Yah's will. I'm going to read the Psalms. I'm going to read Psalms 117. Praise Yahweh. Oh, praise Yahweh, all ye nations. Praise him, all ye people. For his merciful kindness is great toward us. And the truth of Yahweh endureth forever. Praise ye Yah. Blessed be thy holy and righteous name, Yahweh. Thank you, bless you, for without you we're nothing. Amen. Well, thank you for tuning in to Ummi's Tree. And if you have any questions or any comments that you would like to make, always feel free during the broadcast to ask questions, to make comments. Any questions you have, they do not have to necessarily be part of my lesson. But if you have any questions or any concerns or anything like that, or if there's anything you want to know about, if there's anything you would like me to teach on, like I said, I'm familiar with the Quran. I'm familiar with the New Testament. I'm familiar with those books. So if there's anything you want to know, even if you want to know something about the Apocrypha, we can discuss things about the Apocrypha. We can discuss things about the Book of Yasher or the book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees. So I'm familiar with those books as well. I also have access to some of the lost books. So if you have questions concerning any of that, please feel free to share. You can share it during the time of our Sabbath broadcast on House of Yahudah at 12 p.m. Or you can ask during the time of Ummi's Tree broadcast, which is when Yah blesses us, is on the first day of the week at 10 a.m. All right. But until next time, may Yah bless us and keep us. Yah bless. Shalom. Shalom.